Recording. So welcome to this fun session today. The topic is authentic lead generation. It's one of my favorite things to talk about because there is a way to make lead generation more authentic than it might be today. By the way, we do about 3 events per month, and some of them are personal events, such as July 16th, which will be Searching for Your Purpose. Some of them are networking events. I highly recommend Gather and Grow. It's a great way to walk away with ideas. Plus, you get to meet really cool people. That's on July 18th. You're welcome to attend any of our community events for free. We serve as a way of introducing you to our brand. What I'll tell you about Shiftco is we train conscious founders. So if you're a conscious founder, it means you want to make the world better as you grow your business. We train conscious founders how to grow your business and maximize your impact. 86.3% of our members double their business typically in 1 to 2 years. And we believe that when you double a conscious business, you triple its impact. How did I get into this? I've had multiple large exits, which means I've sold companies that I started and or were a part of, including one of those being an initial public offering on the NASDAQ stock exchange. In 2009, I had this crazy idea that I wanted to use my business growth skills to make the world better. And so I started Share on Purpose Inc., which is a purposeful Shark Tank. Share on Purpose invests in businesses. So this is one of our investments, the first zero waste makeup and skincare line. I love that part of what we do, but we also have what we call the cultivator. The cultivator creates our own companies, and Shiftco is one of those. Shiftco is actually the 5th business that we launched through that. And please make sure you're on mute. I am getting a little background noise. So that's the background of me. I'm not going to spend any more time on that. And we're going to get into this idea of lead generation. So when I ask founders, what is the hardest part of building a business? I almost always hear something along the lines of gaining new clients. And I've got a team member on here who's going to help me since we've got a lot of folks on the call today. What do you think is the hardest part of growing a business and gaining new clients? So put in the chat what you come up with and what is so hard about building a business? What is so hard about gaining new clients? And then I'm going to take it one step further. So Lisa, as people are putting things in the chat, if you wouldn't mind shouting them out.
Yeah, 2 on consistency of revenue and just consistency generally.
Consistency is very important because if you have new clients coming on a consistent basis, it makes everything easier. What else is in the chat?
Turning the first contact into a scheduled meeting or discovery call.
Very important. What else?
Selling without feeling salesy.
Selling without feeling salesy. Well, that's a big part of what we're going to talk about today. Anything else in there?
No.
All right. Well, what I want to challenge you is gaining new clients is not hard when you have more people that are aware that you exist and are interested in potentially buying from you. So I want you to think about that for a second. If I want to have more clients, I don't need more clients. What I need is more people to be aware that my brand and my business exists. John, I'm going to use your business because I think you have one of the most fascinating businesses. Green Genie, in the area that you serve, you are the de facto solution for the customers that you serve. But there probably aren't enough people that know that Green Genie exists. So the real key to lead generation and demand generation is ensuring that more people are aware that you exist and potentially being interested in buying from you. Now, large companies, how they solve that brand awareness is they advertise. They spend millions and millions of dollars on advertising. As a small business, we don't have millions and millions of dollars, so we've got to get creative, but we have to achieve the same objective. If Apple, love Apple, whether you like Apple or not, I'm going to use them as an example. If Apple wants to sell more watches and wants to sell more of these little earpod things, they need more people to know that they exist and that their products exist. And guess what? We need the same thing. So the real problem we're trying to solve to make growing our business easier isn't gaining new clients, it's ensuring that more people are aware that we exist and are interested in buying from us. So how on earth do we do that? And what have you already tried? So as it relates to growing awareness of your business, what have you already tried? Please put that in the chat. And Lisa, shout it out as things come in.
Posting on LinkedIn, in-person networking events, reaching out to existing clients,
Excellent.
social media, newsletter, podcasts, door-to-door canvassing, Facebook, Chamber of Commerce, Facebook ads.
Perfect. So just go ahead and stop because I think we have enough for this example. The first kind of myth that I want to break, posting on social media does not grow brand awareness because if you are already connected to those people, they already know that you exist. Think about that. I have, I don't know, 15, 17,000 followers on LinkedIn. Those folks know that I exist already. What I need is more people to know that I exist. So posting on social media, we think that's a form of growing brand awareness. It's not. All it does is remind people that are already aware. It just reminds them that you're there. Now, that is a very important thing to do to remind folks that you're there because we don't know when somebody is ready to solve the problem that we solve. So I might, my house might flood if I live in John's area, but I might not be remembering that Green Genie is out there because I'm like, oh my God, my house just flooded. But if John is posting on social media on a regular basis and I'm seeing those posts, I'm going to be reminded that he's there. So the key distinction that I want to make as it relates to posting, because a lot of people misuse posting and they think they're growing brand awareness. You're not. What you're doing when you post on social media is you're reminding your followers that you're there. If you're using social media as a strategy, any of the platforms, in addition to reminding people that you're there, you also have to gain more connections and followers. Those two things are not the same, and we assume that we are. So what we're going to cover today is sustainable growth. And what I mean by that is from our research and why we measure our performance based on our members' growth, when you double a conscious business in size, whether that business is $2,000 a month or $200,000 a month, when it doubles, you actually triple its impact. And what we're up to is helping more businesses grow so they can make a bigger impact. And so growth is the equivalent of making a bigger impact. If your business grows, you get to serve more people. And by serving more people, you make a bigger impact. To do that, we're going to learn a methodology called authentic lead generation. Now, authentic lead generation itself is not hard. I'm going to give you very different ways to think about it. Very different ways to think about it. It itself is not hard. What's hard is the resistance that we have to doing it. So I'm going to give you strategies to get yourself in the habit of doing it on a regular basis. And then we'll end with mastering the 4 phases of generating demand. So that's what we're going to cover today. The members who doubled their business in Shiftco, the 86.3%, what we have found is they share 4 things in common. One, they themselves are growing. Secondly, their business is purposeful, it means something. Third is they learn how to communicate the value that they provide. We're not going to cover that today, but there are phenomenal trainings on our YouTube page. So you should look up our YouTube page and follow specifically about how to communicate your value. What we are going to focus on is this idea of business growth and what is a methodology to do that, because when your business grows, your impact increases. Okay, so that's the setup for what we're covering. And what we're ultimately going to be talking about is how do you add a demand generation strategy? Notice I changed the word from lead generation to demand generation. Demand generation is about putting enough awareness building out that you actually have people interested coming back. Demand is when people want to buy. Lead generation is when you're trying to get people to buy. And what I want to encourage you is stop thinking about lead generation and instead think more about awareness. I need more people being aware. And if you can get more people to be aware, you will generate demand because folks will come back and say they're interested in buying from you. So what we're talking about is a new business demand generation strategy. There's three aspects that you have to master. And I use the word master on purpose. You can't just hope, you're not going to buy like the magic little marketing pill and it's going to be easy. You really do have to master this. It's a discipline. The first thing is you have to dramatically expand awareness. You need thousands of people to be aware that your business exists. You don't need to sell. You don't need to market. What you've got to do is you've got to find ways to expand awareness where more people know that you exist. And I'm going to show you how to do that today. Second is you need ways to attract more leads so that you have a way for people to engage with you. And then third is you want to improve sales conversion. The least important of these, ironically, is improving sales conversion. That, quite honestly, is the least important. What is number one is expanding awareness. That's the number one thing you have to master to be successful. And let me tell you why that matters. So I'm going to give you some statistics. And I believe my mantra as a leader is to measure what matters. If you are a business to business brand, which means you're a business selling to a business, for every 10 to 100 people that either click on something you post or connect with you, guess what? Only 2 to 5 of those are going to be interested in buying. So think about that. You're out there, you're networking, you're talking to 100 people in a month. You're posting on social media and 100 people see your post. Only 2 to 5 people are even remotely going to be interested. And that is not you guys, and it isn't something you can dramatically make better. It's just the law of statistics. That's the way it works. And of those 2 to 5, you get 1 to 2 new sales over the course of a year. That's if you're a B2B brand. If you sell to consumers, B2C, it's 100 to 1,000 clicks or exposures. I don't care whether you're advertising. I don't care whether you're networking. I don't care whether you're posting. I don't care whether you're podcasting. That's a lot of exposures to get 10 to 20 people that would add your product to cart. And then even after they've added your product to their cart, you'd only make 1 to 2 new sales. So just think about that, because this is daunting and it's nerve-wracking that we need this much awareness. But why do you think products cost so much? Because they have to advertise so much to get enough awareness. We don't have the money to do that. We've got to get creative. So where do you need improvement? I want you to think for a second. If you're B2B, do you have 100 people per month that are aware that you exist? If you don't, start with awareness. Almost always it's awareness. If you're B2B, if you're getting the awareness, but you're not getting enough leads from it, then we need to focus there. I'm going to cover the first two with the bulk of time being spent on awareness. Or is it conversion? When I analyze businesses inside Shifco, I almost always find it's an awareness problem. And so I want you just to kind of look at your own results. And 9.9 times out of 10, the issue is we don't have enough awareness. So how do you fix that? That is where we are going to focus today. And I want to first kind of address what's known as a marketing funnel. And this is a very common methodology: awareness, interest, desire, and act. This has been around for 70 years, I think. I learned this a long time ago, so I'm older than I look. And notice that awareness is at the top of the funnel, and then interest, and then desire, and then act. This is very common. And people say, oh, I need a click magnet or a lead magnet and click funnels, and there's all this stuff out there. But here's the problem. And this is why marketing is less effective today than it has ever been. The goal with a marketing funnel is to get someone to buy. If I were doing that right now, I would be pitching Shifco and why we're great and all this blah, 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 blah. If I were doing that, I'm not doing that because I don't believe that that works. And I don't believe that I think it's working less and less every day. It's kind of like the gig is up with marketing. Marketing funnels just don't work today. And I believe the reason why they don't work isn't because you're not doing them properly. I believe the reason why they don't work is because they're inauthentic. They're designed to get someone to buy. And again, just right now, if you were feeling me try to get you to buy, it would feel inauthentic and you wouldn't want to listen to this powerful training session. So the question that I asked myself when I started our conscious businesses back in 2009 is, how can I create demand, but also be authentic? Because I didn't like the way that it felt. And I wasn't any more successful trying to get people to buy. In fact, every year it's less and less successful. So my question in 2010 was, how do I create demand and be more authentic? So how do you do that is you find way to serve the buyer before they buy, and you focus on the relationship. The key is the relationship. Serving people before you ask them to buy. And the really cool thing is I never ask anybody to buy, just serve them. And if they're ready to buy, they buy. So I began to think about this from the relationship. What is the relationship I want to have with my customers? And how do I think about this as a series of relationship steps? And as I began to think about this and said, okay, when somebody becomes aware, we're probably friends on social media or contacts on social media, depending on which platform. We're connected on social media. And if you connect with me, and by the way, I encourage you to do that, you are now aware that I'm out there. You may not be interested, you may not want to buy from me, you may never buy from me, but you're at least aware that I exist. I spend the bulk of my time on growing awareness. And I'm going to talk through how I do that in a minute, because somebody may need what I have, but they might meet somebody who does. And if they're aware that I exist, they might share my information with another person. So this first stage in the relationship and where you want to spend the bulk of your time is you need 10 to 100 times more awareness than you have today. And I'm not exaggerating, 10 to 100 times more awareness. And what happens is we're now friends. We're now kind of loosely aware of each other. Step two is when somebody is actually paying attention. Typically, when somebody is interested, not in buying, but in what I have to offer and say, I consider them a follower. Examples of that is you download something, you attend a training event like today, you listen to a podcast. So I'm following what you're up to. I'm curious. So we're connected. I'm curious. Again, I'm not ready to buy, but I'm a follower and I'm really interested in what you have to offer and what you have to say. Again, doesn't mean you want to buy. The third is when something changes. And 9 times out of 10, what changes isn't me, the business, it's you, the buyer. Is the buyer has something change in their business and now they're like, you know what, I think I'm going to try a month, or I think I'm going to try, one piece of your product. When I bought Gina's product, and I'm going to try one and then I'm going to see how it goes and I might buy more. That is when you start to become a fan, like, wow, this is really cool, because desire goes up. And then lastly is, if it's good, if that experience is good, when you try, you'll eventually evolve into a fanatic. And what you ultimately want is fanatics, because fanatics bring you more friends. Let me say that again. Fanatics bring you more friends. Fanatics bring you more friends. About 60% of our new members came from members who are successfully using Shiftco that are fanatics. So that means I don't need to do as much demand generation because the people who are successfully using us are fanatics. So that we're not going to talk as much about getting fanatics today. The bulk of what we're going to talk about is growing your friends, because you need 10 to 100 times more of those. But we do want to start doing this in a more authentic way. So I want you to drop the idea of a funnel for just a second, because it just doesn't work anymore. Click lead magnets, click funnels, they just don't work the way that they did even 5 years ago. And what I want you to start thinking about is building a relationship with your buyer before they buy. And how do you actually do that for your brand? So we're going to take the friend, follower, fan, fanatic, and we're going to start thinking about how do we grow each of these. So Friend is aware. You are now aware that we exist. You've attended an event. You're now potentially interested in learning what I'm teaching today. That doesn't mean you would ever buy from me, but you are aware and interested. The bulk of your time needs to be spent there. That is what we call marketing, and awareness is the key. Incidentally, the second half of this, desire and act, that's the selling part. And at the beginning, when I asked you guys why it was so hard, a lot of people said selling is hard. And I'm going to argue with you, selling is not hard. Hear me out on this. Selling is not hard when you have people that are interested in buying. Selling is not hard when you have people that are interested in buying. So the real challenge is 70 to 95% of your time, 70% on awareness, 25% on interest, should be spent in this first half, building awareness and serving people in such a way that you're on their radar screen, right? Like right now, you guys are still tuned in. We have about 40 people on the webinar. You guys are still tuned in. You're aware and interested. You may never buy, and that's cool, but you might meet somebody who says, I need some help with XYZ, and you're like, go check out Shifco. And the next thing you know, they might become a member. So why? Because you were aware and interested. So 70 to 95% of your time has to be on mastering these first two steps. Believe it or not, only 5% is on the conversion side. It will take care of itself if you master these first two steps. This is really the key right here. And this is where we're going to spend the bulk of the time in today's program. Now, if value is high after somebody tries your services, they will return and they will refer, which makes the whole thing even easier. And that's why truly authentic businesses start to scale, because their satisfied customers refer more people. All right, so how do you do it? How do you get awareness and interest up those first two steps? So I'm going to show you the actual system that I invented for my own businesses and the businesses I invest in. This is a system that we teach every single member in Shifco. It's 3 steps. First is, where is your target market? And I think of those as channels. What channel are they listening to? For example, if your target market is on Instagram and you're marketing on Facebook, you're spending all of your time in the wrong channel. So you've got to really pay attention. What I do when I'm figuring this out is I will survey my current customers and I'll say, which of these social platforms are you on? And I'll have them tell me, and I'll modify my awareness building strategy to where they are. And it's one of the reasons why we have the channels that we market on, is because I know that's where my target market is. So where are they and where are they tuned in? You might also ask them where they're networking. And you may find a lot of your customers might be networking online and no longer going to physical networking events. This is a big shift that happened during COVID, and it hasn't come back. In-person networking is a lot smaller than it was 5 years ago, but virtual networking went through the roof and has stayed through the roof. So your target market might be attending virtual networking events. If you're going to in-person networking events, you're missing all of those people. And I really want you to check this out, because I think you'll be shocked. In just about every market globally, there is 3 times more virtual networking opportunities that will get you more awareness than physical networking. So that's number 1, is you got to know where your target market is. Second, you have to really think about the activities that you're going to do. Demand generation is about where are they and the activities that you do. And here's the secret. You want to focus on the activities you enjoy. I'll give you an example of that. I'm a off the charts introvert in spite of coming across very outgoing today. I'm off the charts introvert. I do not like going to in-person networking. So what do? Is I offer training sessions like this as a way to build awareness, and I do virtual networking. I'm on Alignable, I'm on Lunch Club, and LinkedIn groups, because I like those. So the real secret to the activities, I'm going to give you a list of activities to get you started. You want to pick 3 that you like. and not three that you think you should do, but you want to choose three activities from the list I'm going to give you that you actually enjoy doing. And you want to do those on a regular basis. And it's got to become habit. The activities have to become habit. Third is you want to find ways to grow relationships. This is where you serve people passionately. And I always like try to find ways that, hey, can I introduce you to somebody? I always try to find ways that I can serve people, and through my service to them, they realize if I'm that genuine, wow, what would it be like to work with me? So you want to find ways to do that, and to in every case you can be very creative. Examples of this, John, I was thinking about this for your business, is maybe you could give away, a free flood thing, and, take care of one house in a community. And then you could invite the community in and say, hey, we're helping this one homeowner. Let's everybody pitch in and contact the media that you've done that. Boy, that would grow awareness tremendously. That's an example of how you could serve and do something that helps people, and as a result of that, grow relationships. You might also partner with a builder or a flooring company or something along those lines and say, let's help this one homeowner. They're struggling, they lost their job, and let's collaborate on doing that and partner. And so you're looking for ways that you can serve people before you want them to buy from you, as a way of growing awareness. Now, if you're just getting started, it might think, well, how on earth am I going to do that? You can do that. There's all sorts of ways you can do it. I'll be happy to do a free consult with you and help you strategize. I also would encourage you to attend Gather and Grow that I mentioned at the beginning, because in Gather and Grow, there's a bunch of founders that get together and they talk about, how do you grow awareness? And literally we help each other do that. So that kind of gets you started. But let's go into, you've got to know the channel where your buyer is first. And I want to start with what I call priority channels. These are must have. Every business must have these going. And you need to choose at least three from the partner channels. When I start a business, the first thing that I always do is I always approach the people that I already know, and I don't ask them to buy. I just tell them what I'm up to. Hey, I've started this new business and here's what I'm doing. Again, never ask anybody to buy, never ask them to do anything other than I just want you to know what I'm up to. Free and discount trials, that's something you can do. And believe it or not, one of my most successful strategies, I do this for all of my businesses, I make these little leave behind cards, and they're in my purse, and everywhere I go, every restaurant, every time I go shopping, I drop these cards in the basket, drop them in the bathroom, and they have nice little quotes. There's no offer, there's nothing to buy, but there's a QR code that if you want to learn more, you can. So those are like my go-tos when I'm just getting started, and they're what I call BST, blood, sweat, and tears. If you're more of a relationship person, live networking, LinkedIn, Facebook groups, or virtual networking, that's a great thing to do. And again, you only need to choose three from this list. Referral, you can actually ask referrals. You can give referral discounts. Educational activity. This is an example of an educational activity, is I do webinars every month. I freely give of my knowledge. I make myself available. Guess what? You guys are all aware. The 40 of you that are here today are now aware and interested. None of you may ever buy. That's okay, but you might meet somebody who does. Digital and social, daily posts and tips. Just remember that with social media, the people you're already connected to are already aware. All your daily posts are doing is reminding them that you're there. You also need to grow your followership so more people know. And then speaking, you can offer to speak for free. You can offer free programs. By the way, you want to choose from this list first. You should be doing 2 to 3 from this list before you ever think about partnering and before you ever think about paid. And you want to do them, like every day, several times a week. Like it can't be just try it once and then stop. You've got to do it on a regular basis. Second up is, after my business reaches about 50K in annual revenue, that's when I start seeking partnerships. If you try to partner too soon, you will fail. So be very careful when you try to partner. You can serve for free, serve the right partners. You can trade services. You can develop alliance partners. Alliance partners are when we have a win-win based on our relationship. You know, real estate agent partners with a mortgage agent. That's an alliance partnership. You can give partner discounts. So I have several partners that help me with other things and they get a discount. You can do what's called give gets. You can be a guest on somebody's show. And radio, that's actually a partner channel. Most people think it's a demand gen priority. It's actually a partner channel because the podcast or show host wants you to bring your audience to them, and you in turn want to have access to their audience. So that's why I consider that a partner channel. I'm a big fan of being on shows, radios, and podcasts. They're an easy, effective way to partner to grow as long as you keep it win-win. Online partnerships, event sponsorships is a form of partnering. This would be the second area. So usually when I'm building a business, I'll get the business to 50K through priority channels. And then usually I can make it to about 200K with partners before I add paid. And paid channels we're not going to cover. That's not what this is because I think it's the least effective channel that you can do. And I think it's the most expensive, least ROI of everything that you can do. So you're really looking for preferably 3 from priority. And if your business is above 50K a month, maybe 2 partner strategies, and you're going to focus on those to build awareness. So what do? Well, you think about the activities you enjoy. And I cannot emphasize this enough. If you do not like live networking, don't do it. If you don't like giving webinars like this, don't do it. If you don't like being on Alignable, which is an online networking community, don't do it. If you don't like doing podcasts, don't do it. It should be things you really, really enjoy. So you're motivated to do them because 70% of your time needs to be spent on those activities. And by the way, I will take questions at the end, but I have to get to this overcoming resistance because when I'm working with a founder and their business isn't growing, it's almost always like 9.9 out of 10 times because they don't have enough awareness. Almost always, like really high. And secondly, when I ask them what awareness building they're doing, they're resistant to doing it. You've got to overcome that. That's why you want to choose things that you enjoy. And this is true in everything that's in our life. I had a very emotional day yesterday. Somebody very close to me is not doing well. It was very emotional. And guess what, man, I ate very unhealthy yesterday, even though I know I should be eating healthy, right? So we resist what we know we need to do. Working out, I was supposed to work out. Guess what went out the window yesterday? I didn't work out. The same is true with demand generation. We know we need to do this, but we resist it. So I have to really focus on strategies to help you break that resistance because what my mentor taught me back in 2002, because I'm old, I'm 60, I've been doing this entrepreneurship a long time, is Terri, you're either in the habit of doing it or you're in the habit of not doing it. Ooh, man, that just cut right through me. You're either in the habit of doing it or you're in the habit of not doing it. Choose. And so I decided that if I was going to be successful as an entrepreneur at the end of 2002, after failing miserably for about 18 months, I said, you know what? I'm going to get in the habit of doing it and I'm going to find activities that I like. And lo and behold, the rest is history. So how do you break resistance to doing it? Number 1, focus on only doing things you enjoy. Look at that list. I told you I'll email you guys after today. Take a snapshot of those lists. Think of the things you love to do that if you just got in the habit of doing it, you're like, you know, I think I would like doing this. And regardless of what the outcome is, you enjoy doing it. Second is stop thinking about it and start doing it. So many times we try to perfect it and we're like, I think I should do this and I'm going to take that training and that training and that training. BS. I'm not going to cuss on a recorded webinar, but BS. Just get out there and start doing it. Stop thinking about it. Stop analyzing it. Stop questioning. Stop trying to find the perfect methodology. If you like networking, go network. If you like posting, post more. If you like being on podcasts, jump on podcasts. You know, figure out what you love to do and just start doing it. And I don't mean just do it once. I mean, do it every day, do it 3 times a week. At a very minimum is 3 times a week, but get in the habit of just doing, just do it, just do it, just do it, and stop thinking about it. Next is schedule large time blocks. A time block is a block that you have on your calendar. And when you're in the early stages of trying to break this resistance, let's say you put an hour on your calendar to do demand gen and awareness building, and you have that hour, the first 15 to 20 minutes, let's tell the truth. I'm going to get my coffee. I'm going to write things down I'm going to do. I'm going to pop on social media. And the first 15, 20, 25 minutes of my 1 hour time block was all resistance. Tell the truth, right? Tell the truth. So when I'm in resistance, I actually block 2 hours. And of the 2 hours, I might do it for 60 minutes, 75 minutes, because I'm feeling all of that resistance. But if you schedule a larger time block, like literally put it on your calendar as a meeting with yourself. And I don't think when you're in resistance, an hour is enough. Make it an hour and a half to 2. Let yourself feel that resistance and just push through it. It's like, okay, come on, a little bit more, do another, do just another, do another post or join another networking event or, what other podcast can I be on? And get it on your calendar and feel that resistance. The resistance is normal, guys. I still have resistance, and I've been an entrepreneur since 2002, and I still have resistance to doing it. But because the time blocks are on my calendar and there's more time there than I really need, it forces me to move through it because at some point I know I have to do it. The other thing, we're big on this in Shiftco, is find an accountability partner and do the activities together. And we have all these little groups that jump in and say, hey, I'm struggling with it too. Let's do it together. We'll jump on for the next hour. We'll both do our demand generation activities and encourage each other. That's a great strategy, by the way. And then lastly, reward the doing, not the outcome. So we want to get immediate results from doing an awareness building strategy. Guess what? That never, ever, ever works. Ever. It never works. So what you want to do is you want to reward the doing. So I have my Achilles heel is chocolate, and I like York peppermint patties, and I have a stash of them in my pantry. And when I do my awareness building activities, I go to the pantry and I take out a York peppermint patty and I eat it. And I reward the fact that I did it. I did it. I did my demand generation activity. And this is still after decades of entrepreneurship. I still do this. Sometimes it's Reese's. Right now it's York peppermint patties or M&Ms. But you want to reward the doing versus the outcome. You will not get immediate outcome from awareness building activities. No brand ever does. So what you want to do is you want to reward yourself for doing the activity, not being great at it, not getting an immediate outcome, but doing the activity because that will get you into the habit. Last but not least, and then I'll pause the recording and take questions, is demand generation is not something you learn. It is something you must master to build a successful business. This is one of those do not pass go. You can't collect your $200. You must master it in such a way that people want to buy from you. So what that looks like is awareness and interest. The bulk of your time has to be spent there. 70% of your time, if you've got 2 to 5 hours a week dedicated for doing this, the bulk of that needs to be spent on awareness building activities. And then interest would be things like this. This is a webinar. That would be an interest where we're really connecting, we're getting to know each other. And you'll find that I will follow up with you. I will learn about your business. I look for ways that I can serve you. And if you want to join us, great. But I'm going to be interested in you, and you're at least going to be aware and interested in me. You may never buy, but you may know somebody who would. 5% is on conversion. So the real challenge is awareness is where the bulk of the time is, and it's the thing that you absolutely have to master. Why does Apple spend hundreds of millions of dollars on marketing their products? Because they know awareness matters. I don't know about you, but I don't have hundreds of millions of dollars to spend on advertising. So what I do is I find more and better ways to make more people aware that I exist, and I never stop doing it. I'm like a machine. I do it every single day. Every day I'm either in a networking event, posting on social media, interacting with somebody, reaching out to a partner. Every single day I'm awareness for my business. And by the way, I've got some background noise there if you wouldn't mind muting. And the really cool thing is, Sandra, I think that's you, if you could mute. The really cool thing is when people do buy from you, if the value is high, give them a discount coupon to refer somebody else, or give them, a gift card for referring people, or do something, because when you do a good job, you will get more people that will buy from you. So it boils down to this, guys. Where is your buyer now? You cannot wait for them to come to you. You have to go to them. You've got to go where they are. You cannot just post on social media. Those people are already aware that you exist. When you post on social media, you're reminding them that you exist. You need more followers. You need more people connected with you, but you got to go where they are. And instantly, you've got to connect. So I challenge you guys, we're up to 42 in here now. And in the chat are all the people that introduce themselves at the beginning. Go through and connect with those people and get to know them, because these are really cool businesses. And you might know this, a future client might be here, a future partner might be here, somebody might be here that you could refer to. That's an example. Every networking event that I go to, I look and see who's there and I start connecting with them on LinkedIn. That's where my buyer is. Connect, 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 connect. How did I get 17,000 connections? Because I do that every single day. And again, no one ever feels pitched. No one ever feels like I'm marketing to them, but they know that I exist. So you've got to go where they are, and you can't just post to the people who already know you. Second is think about the information that you can share and help them. This webinar is a great example of that. If you like this, who knows? Maybe you would join Shiftco. I'm never going to ask though, but you might go, wow, that's really cool. Everybody learns the same method. I know somebody who's trying to build a business. I don't need it, but maybe they do. So that idea of sharing information that will help them and connect you is key. And lastly, is I ask myself this question every day. Who do I serve and what do they need from me right now? Every day I start with that question. Who do I serve and what do they need from me right now? And the vast majority of things that I do and say and build and all that type of stuff come from this question. Who do I serve? And I've got my list from today. Who do I serve and what do they need from me right now? And if you get yourself in the habit of asking yourself that question every single day, who do I serve and what do they need from me right now? You will find it will lead you to strategies that will help you grow your business. So what do they need? Examples, look at all these really cool training events. One of my other businesses has all these really cool tools. All of these came from that question, who do I serve and what do they need from me right now? The purpose should not be to get someone to buy. The purpose is to serve people until they're ready to buy. Here's another from our investment in Izzy, your Izzy. So this is, I told you, one of my investments. Love this product, love this brand. That's why I invested in it. The first zero waste makeup and skincare line. Zero waste, 100% fully recyclable, sustainable. Guess what? We built this really cool tool. What is the environmental impact of your beauty routine? And man, that quiz gets shared all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time. And guess what? Those folks go in the database. We serve the people in the database. We give them strategies on how to reduce their carbon footprint of their beauty routine. And guess what? 20% or so of the people that come in through that campaign never are asked to buy. They buy from us from those email campaigns. So that's an example of things that you can do. So last thing I'll just remind you of is whatever tools and tips you're coming up with, share them with your current clients as well, because they're going to be reminded to share this with others. I think there's of the 42 people that are here, I think 5 or 6 of you are already members. You might take this recording and you might share this with folks in your community and say, hey, this is an example of something I learned. Maybe it'll help you. So don't just share it, as a lead generation. Share it with this pure intention of just helping people grow their business and adding tremendous value. On that, before we wrap up, speaking of adding value, we've got an event, a personal fuel event on Wednesday, July 16th to help you find your purpose. If you liked this, come to Gather and Grow. Gather and Grow, you're going to get dozens and dozens of ideas to grow brand awareness. It's powerful. It says 12 a.m. to 1 p.m. That should be 12 p.m. To 1 p.m. Central Time. These are great events. They're all free. You can attend them. Thank you so much for joining. I'm going to pause the slide and see if you have any questions.